To make a submarine, we come to our dry dock, and when we are close to the building, we press E to open it up. And if we hover over the submarine icon in the production panel, we can see that we need 12 naval hull segments and 12 naval shell plating to make one. In the stockpile of the dry dock, we can see that we have ample ship segments to make one submarine. One last thing we need to do before we can make one is, if we escape out of this menu, is we can see that our dry dock is not closed, or in other words, the walls are not up. So we press E to open the building again. We click the close dock area. And once the walls are up, we can open the production panel again. And if we now left click on the submarine icon, that will put the submarine into the dry dock. We'll put the dry dock into its dry state, and we can see that we are producing the submarine right now. Now that the production of the submarine has finished, we can get onto the submarine by hopping into the water here. And in the bottom left, we can see that it says press E to climb aboard. This will put us on the deck of the submarine. If we go over these stations that are at the submarine, we can start at deck at the front of the submarine, and we can see that this is where we raise the anchor. We will raise the anchor because otherwise we cannot access all the other positions. So we press E to raise the anchor. If we turn our camera, we can see that the anchor is being displayed as soon as it is raised up. If we move further down the deck, we come to the 40mm turret. So if we press E to open it, we can see that the 30mm turret has a inventory of 100 shells. If we press Q to hop in, we can see that it has 2 barrels, just as we can see on the model. In the front and the back are gangways, which can be extended if the anchor is down. So if we quickly come back to our anchor, press E to drop our anchor, and we come to the gangway in the back over here, we can see that it says press E to lower ramp, and that will lower the ramp. If we move the fuel truck forward a bit and we come to the front gangway, we can extend that one as well. Now, if we proceed to the back of the deck, we can see that when we are at the hatch, we can press a space bar to climb the ladder. And once we are on the ladder, we hold down the S key to climb down. Starting all the way in the front of the submarine, we can see that our first position is the negative ballast control. We can press a Q to embark on the negative ballast tank control. In the middle of our screen, we get the information on our negative ballast tank. That is the target flood level, so which flood level we want to have. We can set that by using the A and the D keys. The current flood level, which is the amount of water that is currently in the negative ballast tank, and that will go either up or down depending on what the target flood level is, and the battery charge. Now, if we want to flood this negative ballast tank, we can hold the D key. That will increase the target flood level, and if we set that to say 78%, we can see that our current flood level is coming with it. If we press A to minimize it to 0%, we can see that the current flood level is lagging behind, so it's pumping out water, and we can see that using the ballast tank will consume battery charge. Filling up the negative ballast tank will help us dive quicker, as it is angling the submarine down a bit. If we press a Q to leave the negative ballast tank, we can get back a bit in the blue area. If we press E here, this will open up the torpedo room, and we can see that that holds at maximum 2 torpedoes. If we move further down, we can come to the main area of the submarine. On the left side is the driver's position. So if we press Q to hop in, we can see that our camera zooms out quite a bit, and steering in a submarine basically works the same as in any other vehicle. Just use the WASD keys to move around. Diving and rising is done in the next position, which is the diving officer. So if we press Q to open the diving officer's panel, we can see that we get a lot of information. So we have the current depth of the submarine. We have our vertical speed, that is, are we going up or down? Currently we are lying still. Then we have the pitch, which informs us about the pitch of the submarine. There is the dive plane deflection, which tells us how we set our dive planes. And here we can also see the battery charge, and that is because the dive planes also use battery charge. To change the dive plane deflection, we can hold the W key to make it negative, which will make us dive. If we let go of the W key, it will go back to 0. And if we press the S key, it will go to a positive number, meaning that our submarine will rise. The diving plane deflection will only have any effect if we are actively moving with the submarine. If we stand in the white rectangle in the middle and we press E to open the inventory of the submarine, we can see that it has 15 inventory slots. If we move back a bit further towards the periscope, we can press Q to grab a hold of the periscope, and the periscope works just like binoculars, so we can hold down our right mouse button and aim out. We have a maximum distance of around 230 meters, and as soon as we hold down the right mouse button, we get the information of the distance we're aiming at and the azimuth. If the submarine's depth is below 5 meters, the periscope will not show any surface vessels. Only when the submarine is above a depth of 5 meters will surface vessels show on the periscope. Pressing Q will let go of the periscope. Then on the right side, we can see that there is the main ballast control. So if we press a Q to open that, it works the same as the negative ballast tank. It has a target flood level, a current flood level, and it also displays the battery charge. When the main ballast tank is empty, we will have a positive buoyancy, which means we will be on the surface. If we fill the main ballast tank to 100%, we will get a neutral buoyancy, and this will put us underwater. And if we come to the diving operator seat, we can see that neutral buoyancy puts us at about 3 meters below the surface. And we can see that we are perfectly stable right now at a vertical speed of 0 meters per second. When the main ballast tank is 100% filled and we empty it or blow it to 0%, and we wait for a reasonable amount of water to exit the main ballast tank, we can see that our submarine starts to rise. In the back of the middle segment is the sensor operator over here. So if we press a Q to hop into the sensor operator, in the sensor operator seat, we can see that we have an azimuth for our sensor and a mode indicator and also the battery charge. To use the sensor, we can hold down the right mouse button to aim it in a particular direction, because currently we are in the long range directional mode, which will reach out 500 meters, but it needs a direction to pinging. So to use it, we press left mouse button and that will send out a ping. We can see that we have a distant contact signatures with a different strengths, and the higher the strength, the closer the contact. And if we fire again, we can see that we also have a close contact signature at an azimuth of 356 and a depth of 1 meter. This is the battleship that is parked next to our dry dock. We can change the sensor mode by pressing F, and that will put it into short range omnidirectional, meaning that it will ping all around the submarine in a radius of 50 meters, and we don't have to aim. So we can left click and we can see we have only one target, and that is the battleship that is next to us. We can also see that every time we ping, we are using a battery charge. On the other side is the gunner or the torpedo operator. If we press a Q to hop in, we get the underwater view as well. And here too, we can use the right mouse button to aim, and this will give us a aim line. And in the middle, we can see that we have target parameters, a distance that we can set on the torpedoes at which range they will explode. So if we set it to 30 meters, the torpedo will explode after 30 meters, or if it impacts anything before that. We can use the scroll wheel to set the depth of the target. So we are roughly at 0 meters depth. If we set the depth to 40 meters and we would fire a torpedo, our trajectory would be down and 30 meters out. If we, however, would be underwater and we put our depth to 0 meters, that would target a surface ship. In the back of the submarine are the two engines. So if we come to one side, we can see press E to view engine status. If we do that, we can see that the propeller is set to forward. We can walk to the other side, press E, and can see that it's set to forward as well. We can change these by equipping a wrench, pressing a C to crouch, and a left click to change it to reverse gearing. And now with the left engine set to reverse gearing and the right engine to forward gearing, if we would hop into the driver's seat and press the W key, we would turn on the spot to the left. All the way in the back of the submarine is the safety ballast control. So if we press a Q to hop into that, we can see that per default, the safety ballast tank is fully filled, in opposition to the main ballast and negative ballast tank, which are by default at 0%. This safety ballast tank is used when you are damaged underwater and you need to resurface very quickly. You want to pump all the water out of the safety ballast tank, which will bring you back to the surface very quickly. So to refuel our submarine, we bring our fuel truck very close to the edge of the dry dock. We hop out of it, come to our submarine, press E to climb aboard, and at the turret, press E, and then in the fuel status panel, we click the refuel button, and that should do the trick. To restock our submarine, I brought a heavy-duty truck with some 40mm shells, some basic materials, and buckets. So we grab some basic materials, some 40mm shell, a bucket, and some more basic materials. We walk up to the gangway on the submarine, walk towards the front turret, and when we are there, we press E to open it up, and we can left click on the shells to submit them into the inventory. After we did that, we come to the hatch over here, press a spacebar to grab hold of the ladder, press S to climb down. When we are inside the submarine, we go to the inventory icon on the floor. We press E to open it up, and we put the basic materials and the water bucket in there as well. Currently, the only way to reload torpedoes into your submarine is to grab a torpedo, for instance, from this trailer by pressing V, coming up the gangway. And instead of climbing down the ladder, which will drop your torpedo on the ground, so we climb back up the ladder, press V to pick up the torpedo, and we walk into the hatch, which will drop us down into the crew quarters. The only downside is this will do a tiny bit of damage to your character, so you will be injured. To submit it to the torpedo room, we can simply press V, and if we press E to open the torpedo room, we can see that we have now 2 torpedoes in. With our negative and main ballast tanks at 0% and our safety ballast tank at 100%, we have a resulting buoyancy that is positive. This means that our submarine is at the surface. There is a slight negative vertical pitch, but we are going to ignore that for now. We are not using the diving planes, so the diving plane deflection is at 0 degrees as well. We don't have a vertical speed because we're already at the surface, and we don't have any horizontal speed, so we are lying still on the surface. If the driver uses the engine by pressing a W with the same settings, we will have a horizontal speed that is positive, meaning we are going forward. When we hold our submarine and fill the main ballast to 100%, we will have a neutral buoyancy, and this means that our submarine will sink a bit into the water till a depth of about 3 meters. If the driver uses the engines and presses the W key, we will have a positive horizontal speed at about a depth of 3 meters. If we hold our submarine and we fill our negative ballast tank to 100% as well, we will have a negative buoyancy and a negative pitch. But because we are not moving and the negative buoyancy is very minor, we are not having a negative vertical speed, nor do we have a horizontal speed. If the driver starts to use the engines by pressing a W, by going forward, we also will have a negative vertical speed, meaning that we are diving slowly. If we then stop the engines and we blow the negative ballast tank to 0%, we will have a neutral buoyancy again, and we will be stable at the depth that we dove to. If the driver then presses the W key, we will have a positive horizontal speed below the surface. If while we are moving below the surface, we also empty out our main ballast tank, we will have a positive buoyancy. That will turn our pitch to positive. That will also mean that we have a positive vertical speed while we still maintain our horizontal speed. Meaning our submarine will rise or will even surface depending on how far we let this go. With our main and safety ballast filled to 100% and a neutral buoyancy, if the dive operator holds down the W key, that will change the plane deflection to minus 45 degrees. This in and of itself will not make us dive because we are not moving. If the driver then uses the engines and presses the W key, this will start to make the submarine dive. Our pitch will go to negative and our vertical speed will go to negative while we maintain a positive horizontal speed. While we still have a horizontal speed and the dive operator presses the S key, this will change the plane deflection to plus 45 degrees. This means that our pitch changes from negative to positive and that our vertical speed becomes positive as well, meaning that our submarine is rising again. If we also fill our negative ballast tank to 100% while we are already moving forwards, and the diving operator presses the W key, so the plane deflection turns to minus 45, this will give us a negative pitch because we both have a negative buoyancy and we have a negative plane deflection. This will make our submarine dive very fast. To rise very fast while maintaining speed, we empty out the negative and main ballast to 0%, which will result in a positive buoyancy. And if we also change the plane deflection by having the dive operator pressing the S key, we will have a large positive pitch and a positive vertical speed, meaning that we are going to the surface very fast. To perform a emergency surfacing of the submarine, we simply empty out all the ballast tanks, including the safety ballast, resulting in a high positive buoyancy, and that also means a high vertical speed. If we go below 20 meters, we are below the crush depth of the submarine. Below crush depth, the submarine can spring leaks spontaneously. The chances of that increase the longer you are below crush depth. The periscope depth is the depth at which the submarine can be while it still can see surface vessels. That is currently 5 meters. So if you are below 5 meters and you use the periscope, you are not able to see surface vessels. The hidden depth is the depth at which you are hidden from a map intelligence, and that is currently at about 8 meters, or more to the point, when the entire tower is below water. Traveling from hex to hex is done the same way as you would with any other vehicle. You come to the border of the hex, and in the bottom left we can see that it says press E to travel to base in Sinnock. So we press E, and just as with any other large ship, there is a 60-second timer before you can travel over. So you press travel, that will run down the 60-second timer, and once that 60-second timer has run up, you will travel over. After traveling, we are on the other side of the border, and if we come to our dive seat, we can see that we are roughly at the same depth as where we were when we traveled over. Even with our submarine fully surfaced, we can fit under the bridge, so there is no need for us to open the bridge. If we want to, we can still press E and open the bridge, but as we can see, I can just drive under the bridge with our submarine. One of the most important things in the submarine when below the surface is to manage your battery. So your battery life gets influenced by either letting more water in or water out of the ballast tanks, running the engine while underwater, and pinging for targets from the sensor seat. If our battery is running low, we can recharge it by resurfacing. As soon as we are up on the surface and we hop into the driver's seat, we can see that the battery is recharging. Now, to turn around and to go back to where we came from, we come to the left engine, crouch with our wrench in our hand and a left click. That will put that propeller to the backwards position. Now that our right propeller is propelling us forward and the left propeller is propelling us backward, we are basically turning on the spot. If we spot a enemy freighter, for instance, at azimuth 218, we can come to our fire position for the torpedoes. We press Q to hop in, and if we use our right mouse button to aim, we can aim towards the freighter over here. We can see that even vaguely the silhouette of the freighter is available. We can set the distance at which our torpedo will explode to, for instance, 60 meters, because that's where the freighter is. We can use the F key to change that. So it changes from 30 meters to 100 meters maximum. So if we set it to 50 meters, because it's from the front of the submarine, and we left click, that will fire out a torpedo. And when the torpedo goes, we can see that we hit the freighter over there. So if we hop out of the gunner seat and we come to the periscope, we can see that we did destroy the freighter. When you have a leak in your submarine, like over here, we want to hammer that leak as soon as we can, because we can see that water is spreading into the submarine. We come to the leak on the wall with basic materials in our backpack, and we hold down the left mouse button to hammer in basic materials. With the leak repaired, we drive our submarine to the dry dock. With our submarine in the dry dock, we can come to the dry dock building, press E to open it up and close the dry dock. With the dry dock closed, we come to the submarine. We come to the driver's seat and we check how far we are from the repair location. If we get our submarine at 0 for the repair location, come to the dry dock building, press E to open it up, and in the actions panel, if we hover over the repair button, we can see that this will repair our health, subsystems, and armor, and it will cost us 10 naval shell plating. We have more than 10 naval shell plating, so we can click the repair button. Even though water was inside the submarine, we can start the repair process. Okay, if we press E to open the dry dock, we can see that the progress is going. Now that the repair process is done, we can see that our submarine is fully repaired and that water is back in the dry dock. If we come to the gangway over here, we press E to pull it out and we come inside the submarine. We can see that all the water is out of the submarine and our entire submarine should be fixed.